Do you see anything?
Nothing. Wait, there were markings. Some sort of alish. I'm the bad guy. Duh.
My precious.
Hello there, my precious. Reginald here. If you're reaching for a VR game that closely relates to Middle-earth fantasy, look no further, as Moss is the right game for you. The game's environment, characters, story, narrator, and music will remind you of The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings films, or maybe Tiny Lord of the Rings. Let's start with the environment. You'll start off on a place they call as the Clearing, which will remind you of the Shire in the Fellowship of the Ring movie. It would make you feel like you're in a small rural neighborhood with cute and friendly neighbors. A cottage of Uncle Argus here also feels like Bag and the Hobbit home of Bilbo Baggins, with those woodworks and furnitures. I can't explain how amazing it is to just look into the details of the house in VR, where you're like a giant looking into a tiny house like a diorama. The Twilight Garden in their rooms will remind you of Lothlorien or Rivendell. There's also a river scene, which will remind you of this particular scene in The Lord of the Rings. The Mire Swamp, which is scarred by battle with dead bodies all around, will definitely remind you of the Dead Marshes, giving you an eerie feel. Now look at the abandoned mines here at Moss. It really feels like the mines of Moria, right? The eastern wall is like the walls of Helm's Deep in the Two Towers, or even walls of
Mordor.
Now add the musical score they use for each of these locations and you'll feel like you are in Middle-earth. The narrator's voice
Your time has come at last, dear reader.
is like the heavenly voice of Galadriel in Lord of the Rings as well, adding to the immersion. We have lots of characters that will remind you of the Lord of the Rings, like the sprites who will for sure remind you of the elves in the Lord of the Rings.
I'm Veda, root seer of the mire, and you have crossed into our domain.
She sized up Quill with a rueful gaze, then turned her attention upward.
I sense you there too. I have not felt the presence of such a promising reader in some time.
With Veda playing like Galadriel. You'll also see the towering eyes that will greatly remind you of the Eye of Sauron. The forest creatures are like the armored Urukhais or orcs, while the winged creatures or crows are like fell beasts. As for the main antagonist of this game, we have the fire-breathing snake, which will remind you of Balrog. Surprisingly, his game name is Safrog. Quill's Uncle Argus is like Bilbo and Gandalf of Lord of the Rings. He even rides a squirrel, like the way Gandalf rides a horse.
West of the clearing, she explained. And as soon as I picked it up, something started helping me. Uncle Argus followed her motion.
A reader? With you, here, right now? Quill, what you found is very powerful and very dangerous.
As for Quill, she is like the whole Fellowship of the Ring. She's as cute and curious as Frodo, quick as Legolas, has wizard powers like Gandalf, good at sword like Aragorn, a lady like Arwen, and as hairy as Gimli. And you, the reader who looks like No-Face of Spirited Away? Who are you in the Lord of the Rings reference? Let me ask, who is Frodo's companion from beginning to end? Yes, you got it right. You are Gollum. I mean, Sam. Now, how about the most important thing in Lord of the Rings, which is the ring? Well, in Moss, we also have an equivalent, which they call as the relic glass. My precious. This glass provides powers, but I'm not sure how many there are. All I know is the one used by the king is lost, and Quill's glass is from the sprite champion. I will not spoil anything more in the game, and I'm encouraging fans of The Lord of the Rings to try. You'll be surprised by the quality of this VR game, especially for those who play it in a standalone Oculus Quest 2 headset. I could say they have set the bar in VR adventure games. I hope you like this comparison, and I hope you subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode. Bye!